So, hello and welcome to this podcast. Today I'm joined by Paul Vaclik, Head of Product Innovation at Nomad Digital. Paul, thank you very much for speaking to me today.
Thank you.
So we want to just find out a little bit about Nomad Digital and how you guys stay on top of everything, really. So what does innovation mean for Nomad Digital and the transport connectivity sector as a whole?
Well, Nomad's been around for just over 20 years now, and it's always been a very innovative company. It's a company that was formed by two guys up in Newcastle upon Tyne originally and has grown since then. In the very early days of providing connectivity between train and ground to provide passenger internet. And that was really the original focus of the company, to be able to solve this very hard challenge of how do you basically get internet onto a moving vehicle. And that in itself is a core challenge which has never gone away. The communication space around us has massively evolved over those 20 years and is obviously something that continues to evolve moving forward. And that really is still very much the core of what we do. So a lot of our innovation is actually still in the space of how do we do the absolute best job we can to provide secure, robust, reliable communications between the train and the shore. And how do we take advantage of all of the different communication tools that are available and are emerging in the marketplace. So that kind of core technical challenge is one source of or one potential area of innovation for us. But then once we've got that, it's really, well, what do you do with that? And how do you turn that into a set of services that benefit the train operator and, more importantly, the passenger? So our focus really on innovation is how do we take most advantage of that communication technology, and then how do we turn that into really interesting and innovative services for the passenger?
Yeah. Absolutely. And for transport as a whole, I believe like connectivity is getting so much more important because people are using their travel time to sort of do what they would be doing normally when they get to their destination. So yeah, I can see that must be an absolute paramount feature.
There's absolutely an expectation that when you jump on a train and pretty much everywhere else that you might travel these days, that you will have the ability to operate in the same way that you would almost if you were in your home or in your office. And the kind of underlying expectation that broadband quality internet will be available anywhere is something which really drives us. Now, that's very hard to do in a mobile situation. And there are still, a lot of compromises that have to be made with that. But really getting to the point where we can satisfy that expectation that passengers have, that they're just going to be able to do everything that they need to do in the same way that they would if they were at home or in the office.
Absolutely. And I suppose, you're doing a good job if they can take it completely for granted that they can just keep doing that. Nomad Digital has a history of innovation, like you've been saying, but what pioneering highlights for Nomad stand out to you?
Well, over the years, we've done a few firsts and a few interesting things. So really, as I said, that connectivity piece has been at the core of a lot of the things that we've done, providing a robust communication mechanism in the first place to allow really any amount of internet on boards to operate back in the times where really we were limited to 3G phone signals, where data capability on that was very, very limited. We already were providing solutions which were bonding together multiple different connections to allow us to provide a wider bandwidth connection. That was really where we started and one of the first areas that we operated in. That's expanded over time to including a lot of different types of communication technology. We were one of the first companies to operate satellite on a train. where we were using not the latest generations of low Earth orbit satellites that are beginning to become interesting now, but previous generations of satellite communication technology, which again were very limited, but provided us with another interesting way of being able to provide connectivity in really difficult places. We also provided the first live TV broadcast on a train, where we were able to work together with our partners to broadcast live football matches. I think that was back in 2016, if I got my dates right, where we were working together with a rail operator and also with partners in the TV companies to stream those broadcasts live onto the trains. So again, that's technically quite an interesting challenge to get those services to work, and obviously to not cut out just as you go into a tunnel, just as the goal is about to be scored. So providing those kind of solutions that actually worked well and provided a really good experience for the passengers was another first for us. So yeah, we're kind of constantly looking for areas in that space. We're now working together with a range of different partners on different solutions to make the journey a better space and a better experience. We're working together on solutions that can make your ticketing experience easier over in the US, where we're working together with onboard ticket scanning machines, again using our connectivity technology behind that. Also working with our connectivity technology to deliver a lot of services which are maybe not so obvious to the passenger, where we're using our services as a platform to then run a lot of the sensing technologies that go on trains to, for example, sense potential disruption on the track ahead of you, where you have camera technology looking for issues on the track, camera technologies that are looking for issues on the overhead cable systems, and again, using our platforms and our connectivity to do that. Another interesting area where I think we were quite ahead of the game was providing really quite advanced compute resource on board a vehicle. So the concept of a kind of data center on a train, which is now becoming very interesting for a lot of train operators, was something that we've been doing for over 10 years now. So we've been working together with one very forward-thinking rail operator who already recognized a long time in the past that you really needed to be able to deploy a lot of different software services on a vehicle, and you needed a very kind of flexible standardized platform to do that. And we've been working together with that company over those years to implement that, and therefore we've got a lot of experience in that area, and that's now turned into our standard onboard data center product.
Awesome. So there might not, if the train itself is providing its own connectivity, there won't be necessarily the issues with signal, etc., that may have happened due to tunnels and stuff in the past.
Yeah, that's part of the challenge. But however good we get at the connectivity piece, we've got to recognize that we're still, in a metal box doing a couple of 100 miles an hour, if you're lucky, and through some, very difficult environments. So providing the ability to do a lot of computing on board the vehicle is really important, to minimize that offload, to minimize the amount of load that you're putting on the communication between the train and the shore, and to frankly be able to do things that you could not do even if you had a really strong connection all of the time. So areas which are getting very interesting now are using very advanced AI tools and hardware accelerated AI systems to do analysis on board the vehicle, so that what you're actually doing is doing most of the hard work with all of the big data on the vehicle, and then you really only need to worry about the results. So it's the results that get pushed back to the shore side, or the results that are then used to trigger or create more innovative services on the trains.
Yeah, absolutely, the dream. So you've mentioned quite a few different technologies coming into the transport connectivity sector, but are there any that you're particularly excited about?
Yeah, I mean, everyone says AI at the moment, right? And that is one area that I think, we've already spent quite a lot of time working on some technologies which are starting to use AI to enhance things that we've already done in the past. So I think, a lot of the things that we see at the moment, which are more obvious in the AI space, are areas which are using, perhaps the big capabilities of cloud delivered tools, the kind of chat GDPs, etc., that are providing better ways to enhance services that we've already got. I think the really interesting space around AI is where the AI capability really becomes embedded into the hardware and the operating systems of everything that we're doing.
Mhm.
So instead of AI being a kind of add-on almost, it becomes fundamental to everything that we're doing. And that, I think, is going to be very pervasive in terms of changing the way that we present information to the end user, to the passenger. It will become pervasive in terms of even adjusting how the services work on the train and potentially even the connectivity on the train. So I think, that level of taking something which at the moment is still a bit of a kind of special case feature and turning it into something which is much more fundamental is going to be a very interesting space as we move forward. That's going to involve a lot of different mindsets and a lot of different thinking, because it really changes the way that you design hardware, it changes the way that you design software. So it's really a kind of net change to everything that we do.
Yeah. And I mean, AI is one of those things at the minute. I mean, it's so new. I think people are still a little bit on the fence about it in certain
Mhm.
aspects. Do you think Rail's still slightly anxious in that regard?
Absolutely. I liken a lot of the changes that we're going through with AI to perhaps what we saw around, the turn of the century with the web and the internet, where, year 2000, the World Wide Web was what, 8 years old. It was still a technology that, although it had been around for a while, people were still kind of figuring out what to do with it. And if you think about the kind of massive explosion of different concepts, tools, services that were available at around that time, and the kind of internet bubble or web-based bubble that occurred, we're seeing something very similar to that now, I think, with AI, with a lot of people grappling with a new set of technologies and trying to find how to make use of those. However, if you kind of think, well, if we've now moved forward 20 plus years from that point on the internet, look at the state of the internet today. It's not a thing anymore. It's just fundamentally part of our lives. It's
Mm.
part of everything that we do. So that kind of special case environment has just become everything. And I think that a lot of AI will turn into the same kind of environment for us, where it no longer becomes a kind of special thing that you have to treat separately. It just is. It's just there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's scary for me even to think that now, the people coming into the workplace now haven't known a world without the internet. So they
Absolutely.
are
Yeah.
they were
Yeah.
born speaking the internet, weren't they? So they
Yep.
hopefully they know a little bit about it. The people who lived in a world slightly before might not have the same thinking patterns around. Um,
Absolutely. And 10-year-olds today will grow up in a world where everything is AI accelerated and AI assisted. And our kids of today will grow up in a space where they don't understand an environment where you don't have that level of assistance, in the same way that 20 somethings today don't understand a world without the internet.
Here they were dark times. Um, so, as head of product innovation at Nomad, what are your key goals and how are you going to continue to innovate in the future?
So it's important for us to innovate internally, And innovation is not about, sitting in a darkened room and coming up with the next greatest product. It's really about understanding our customer. It's about listening to our customers, and it's about evolving our products. So it's really about everyone in the organization both taking part and also having the space to be able to do that. So we're working on initiatives that allow our people to do that. We've had some real good success in the past with hackathons, both internal and also external hackathons, which have generated a lot of different really interesting ideas, some of which are now actually turning into product features within our products. And we're going to continue to do similar kinds of things in the future. We obviously are part of the Ulstom organization. So our parent organization has a lot of resource and a lot of, really smart people. So working together with our parent company and leveraging them, and by the way, them leveraging us to also come up with innovative solutions is a big part of the picture as well. But I also want to reach out. So we are definitely looking for partners. We are very open to working together with organizations who potentially have ideas, opportunities, can see business opportunities to put a product or a service into a rail environment, and potentially companies who have difficulties with the physical challenges of doing that. We might be able to work together with and help, because putting something onto a train is not easy. From a standards and compliance point of view, it's not straightforward. You really need to work together with a company that has the engineering experience and potentially already the footprint to do that. And we basically are already in a position where we have a lot of the fundamental pieces of the jigsaw puzzle in place. So if you need network, if you need communication, if you need compute, if you need the internet or the web experience in front of the passenger, we have all of those things already. So we've really got the platform to then develop other tools and other services on top of that.
Absolutely. And you said about the hackathon, were they a form of kind of game to get other people involved?
Yeah, you can kind of think of them as a bit of a game. So the usual format is that you spend 1 or 2 days. You allow people to kind of organically form their own teams around different ideas and concepts. They tend to work best where you don't try to guide people too much. So you have some kind of very broad themes that you want to achieve, but you allow people to kind of come up with their own strategies and their own objectives. And you provide people with the space and the tools. And it's really, the most important resource that you can provide people with is time, where you provide people with the opportunity to just say, okay, I'm going to step outside my normal work and I'm going to do just this for this period of time. And I'm going to focus absolutely on working together with this group of people to achieve a result. And once you get people into that kind of way of thinking, you come up with some really interesting results very quickly. And a lot of the usual kind of day-to-day excuses for why we don't do things fall away pretty quickly once you get into that mode.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant way of doing things. It's like really exciting and a great way to get people involved and thinking out of the box, which I think is probably one of the hardest things to do, isn't it, really? When it comes to innovation, you've got to push yourself out of your comfort zone on a daily basis to get new ideas.
Absolutely.
And we were saying earlier about the passengers, and the new generations of passengers will be used to using connectivity on trains as part of the journey itself. And Nomad Digital is incredibly passenger focused, but how are you going to keep up with this digital evolution of the passenger?
Do we ever keep up? I don't know. There is obviously a lot of evolution in terms of expectation. There's a lot of evolution in terms of just the technology that enables all of this. I mean, the kind of core piece of technology that we all walk around with, our mobile phones, our smartphones, are already capable of providing a lot of the connectivity and a lot of the access to services that passengers need. So to some extent, you might ask the question, well, is Nomad needed, right? Can you actually bypass all of the things that we're providing and just use your smartphone? And actually, that's one of the key challenges that we have to understand how what we do enhances the total passenger experience and isn't basically just replaced or replaceable. And would take several hours to go through all of the potential ways that we can do that. But it's a constantly evolving space, and we're absolutely understanding the fact that passengers' expectations are evolving much more quickly than the underlying technology on a vehicle can necessarily be changed. Trains have lifetimes of decades. We perhaps change pieces of hardware on trains over perhaps 7, 8, 9, 10 years. But think about how your apps evolve on your smartphone. They evolve in a matter of months. So we need to be able to provide solutions which are keeping up with that environment and remaining relevant, and also understanding how we can change to best support that environment and not just replace what is already there.
Yeah. Well, one way that someone's phone probably can't sort of be useful to them on a train is in connecting to other parts of the train itself. And Nomad can definitely do that. So how does that impact on the passenger experience?
Well, I mean, a lot of the services that we deliver on the train are actually kind of connected to the train itself. So we will provide services which are obviously linked to providing journey information. That, of course, is linked to physically where you are, the journey process that the vehicle is going through, even down to the kind of physical state of the vehicle at any point in time, whether it's coming into a station, stopped, etc., etc. So all of those kind of physical aspects do actually contribute to the experience that we're providing. We also have a lot of opportunity to link in with other technology that might exist on that vehicle. So, for example, a lot of trains have passenger counting technology, which could be sensors in doors, etc. Lots of other different systems that also exist, which are providing some information about how loaded a train is, and the more advanced tools are able to pin down even more specifically where people are within a vehicle. Now, information like that is obviously very useful to a train operator, but can also be useful for things like helping people to find a seat, finding out which parts of a train are less busy, helping people towards a pre-booked seat if they're finding difficulty finding that, finding space for your luggage. All of those kind of aspects can be enhanced or improved by having better knowledge of the sensing technology that's already on the vehicle.
Yeah, absolutely. Which I think can never really be taken for granted. I think the more help that passengers can get, sometimes they really do like it. Like we've been talking about future generations, but we definitely can't forget the past generations, and we don't want to alienate them from the rail experience just because they can't find their seat or anything like that.
Absolutely. I think accessibility in its broadest possible scope is something that's really important to us. We often look at accessibility as something which is kind of limited to people with a disability, but actually, when you think about it, if you're in an environment where you're somewhere new, maybe you're traveling on a train in a different country, that the language is not your first language, or maybe you don't speak the language at all. It's an unusual environment. Maybe you've got a couple of kids with you, maybe you've got a lot of luggage. All of these things make your journey difficult. So accessibility for me is not just about satisfying needs of particular people with particular other abilities. It's also about just making life easier for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is kind of almost the thinking behind the whole digital revolution anyway, really. The internet and AI, and yeah, the futuristic image of human life always idyllically looks so much easier than when we think we have it today. Yeah, well, thank you very much for talking to me today, Paul. It's been absolutely lovely, and hearing about the new innovations that Nomad's working on has been really exciting. Looking forward to experiencing those in the future.
Thank you very much. It's been great to talk to you.
Thanks, Paul.